Kichzor here. I just thought I'd bring you another little video of some potential cards that you can either play in the main or side deck for Qliphorts. I've been doing a bit of wandering around on YouTube, looking at people's deck profiles and then the ARG deck lists, and just to see like potential things people could play in the side deck or in the main, simply to give myself a better understanding of how to play Qliphorts or to decide on my own personal side deck. But I found a couple of interesting things, so I thought I'd bring them to you just to see what you, just to let you know some cards that you could potentially side for your Qliphorts if you intend to make them. Well, there's quite a few traps, quite a few spells, and then just a handful of monsters really. Mainly it's traps, which is the one annoying thing about Qliphort. They all seem to be continuous traps, which basically lose to Fairy Wind. So I tried to come up with a couple of other ideas that would be a better out, should we say. Anyway, one Ceasefire. I thought you could play either one or two of Ceasefire. It's not a bad card, especially if you're playing Qliphorts, because, well, when you spam the board, you normally put about 4 or 5 monsters on field, and that could be 4 or 5 effect monsters, which could then be which could be like another 2/5, depending on what their stuff is. Not to mention, if your opponent's playing something like Shaddolls, they might have a few on field as well, and then you could burn them for probably about 3 to 3/5, which could be a lot, which could be a bit of a life-sealing one, especially if you're playing against the mirror match. Ceasefire could be quite clutch, so I thought that could be a potential card. Another card I really liked the look of was a Jama Trio. A Jama Trio could be good because number one, it's useful for a couple of reasons. Against BA, you put the monsters on their field. They can't use their, well, when they summon their BA monsters, they automatically die because these aren't BAs. Then also they can't spam out and make multiple Dantes in one turn because they've got 3 slots already taken. That's another plus side. Like when Qliphorts have the same problem, they can only really go into 2 monsters, and then they're stuck just trying to poke you slowly. Not to mention with Qliphort Shell as a piercing attack monster, piercing defense monster. These have 1,000 defense, and then if you boost up your shell, you can go in through and then do the damage of the Jama Trio on top. So I thought that's an interesting card that you could try as well. For the mirror match, I was thinking something like Selection. There was a bit of coverage on it. I think a couple of people have been saying about it online. Pay 1,000 life points, negate the summon of a monster with the same type as a monster you have on the field. It's quite situational, but it's not continuous, which is a big thing because obviously it means you don't lose to Fairy Wind, you don't lose to MSTs. So I thought it's a very good potential card. Another card that I thought I played myself in the main and side was in the main deck. Sorry, was Reckless Greed. Reckless Greed is a good card. It gets you to your combo pieces a lot faster. This deck is it's probably like a two card combo. Like you need Scout. It gets you to Scout a bit faster. And then you can stack them. Obviously, Reckless Greed. Some people have the opinion that it should be banned or limited to 1 or something like that. But it's just another good card. Time Space Trapple. You can combo this with Murmillo if you really want to. The guy who recently came second at the ARG in Seattle did that. Simply to get time space, I assume, for the mirror match. It is a good card for the mirror match because it just basically shuts your opponent off. Can be expensive, which is the problem, because you lose a lot of life points in this deck anyway. But time space is a potential card. Then Blackhorn, basically the same thing. Stops the full pendulums, so it's got to be worth it in some way. XYZ's, it's another potential. I don't think it's one of the stronger ones, but it's definitely worth a try if you've got a spare, an easy tournament that you could go to and just try without that. Chain Dis, Burning Abyss. It's just another way. Your hardest matchup is Burning Abyss, so therefore you need to beat Burning Abyss. So great card. Hits the monsters. If you hit Scarm or potentially Graph is the best one you can hit now. Seeing as the deck seems to completely revolve around Graph, bringing out things in both players' turns. As Patrick Oban said in his deck profile, he said it was definitely one of the main cards. Dust Tornado. Again, Dust Tornado was played in the main deck of the latest guy who came second at ARG. He's playing Trips in the main deck. It's a good card. It helps you just whittle away that back row, and basically treat your deck as the Constellas used to, and just push through for game a lot easier than it used to. Another potential card is obviously Mirror Force. Mirror Force is good for going against the mirror match, because obviously you want to just Mirror Force all this stuff so they can't get you. The downside is that it all just goes back to the extra deck anyway, and they just bring it out again next turn, but it does stop you from dying, and it can help you with a game push on your turn for the next one. Same sort of logic as Torrential Tribute. Torrential Tribute is just a good card in general. It's just mass removal on your opponent's turn, and it can help you get the OTK on your turn as well. Solemn Warning, potential card. I'm not quite sure how I feel about Solemn Warning, simply just because of the life points, but definitely warrants a test. I don't particularly like it simply because of the life points, as it doesn't really, you don't really seem to have a lot of time in the deck anyway, and you don't really want to limit yourself even further down with Solemn Warning. But obviously Solemn Warning can get you a completely open board state if you go in first. I believe this is a go first card. If you go in first, this can be in. If you go in second, then it's useless. Well, not useless, but it's nowhere near as powerful as it was if you go in first. So maybe a side deck card, I believe. Solemn Scolding. I'm undecided on this card. I don't like the 3,000 life points. I don't like the 2,000 on Solemn Warning, so I'm not going to like the 3,000 on Solemn Scolding. So that's my personal opinion anyway. Then you've got potential side cards as Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is a continuous trap card, so it gets hit by Fairy Wind, but it's also a very, very powerful trap card, so you can't really deny it. Definitely worth the playtest, see how you get along with it, and let me know how it fares for you. Another card is Clipper Launch. Until the end of this turn, all normal summoned / set clean monsters you control currently get 300 attack, but are unaffected by other spell / trap card effects on the field for the rest of the turn. So it's basically like a little lance with a built-in 300, which is nice. It's probably a bit slow, but it's a card that you could try anyway, so might be worth it. Last trap card is Sealing Ceremony of the Mokuton. Once per turn, you contribute a monster one face-up Earth you control. Select 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard. Banish them from the graveyard. Remove them from the graveyard. Sorry. This recently got a bit of coverage at the ARG Seattle as well, because there was a Qliphort player playing this, and it was just one turn after the other, just slowly plussing. He was doing it on his turn and his opponent's turn to bounce monsters because the monsters you tribute can bounce things away, destroy monsters, blah blah blah. But yeah, just a really good card. I picked a couple of play sets up just so I can test them myself. Not to mention Armored Ninja's on there as well, and I love him. Just a very cool looking card. But yeah, those are some traps that you could play. I should leave these by here, just in case you want to have a cheeky pause on the video and just have a little look. So yeah, those are there. So yeah, then I thought I'd move on to some monsters. There's not many. We've got the Fire and the Ice Hand. You can play Fire and Ice Hand. They're good side deck cards, especially against Qliphorts. It means you can just stop them from basically OTKing you with the hands themselves if they've got spell cards on the field. I don't personally think they warrant 4 spaces, because if you play them, you have to play them in 4 or 3. You have to play them in 2s or 3s, and then that's either 4 or 6 spaces on the extract, just completely gone straight away. So I don't personally know how I feel about them. I didn't opt to run them in my side, simply for the fact that I didn't want to dedicate so many spaces to that many cards when I could play other cards instead. You could play like the one-off chain discs or things like that. I thought it was better and more relevant to not play the hands and play some other things. Then you got hand traps. I've just put the max C there because I don't imagine people siding Effect Veiler at the moment. I think it's just an inherent negative, because you can stop their tour guide against BA, and that's pretty much all you're going to stop. and then all they have to do then is on their next, it comes to your turn, you beat over it, and then they can just do whatever they want to do the following turn, or protect it with traps and then summon another tour guide, and then they've still got a card on field, and then you've had to waste a card. So I don't know how I feel about it myself. So I feel Maxi's better because you'd rather get the 1-for-1 at least off the tour guide. And if they're going to bring a tour guide out, they're normally going to go into a Dante, and then Dante's going to get you probably, depending on what they hit and activate, that it could get you +2, could get you +3, depending if they just refuse to stop. It puts your opponent in a bad position, basically. Another one is Tower or Killer. It's a good side deck card simply for the fact that people in BA are main decking rank up Magic Astral Force simply for the fact that they can get into a 4,000 monster to beat over this. Otherwise, they have no out, and then it means you just slowly win with this card. I think you could play one in the side deck. I don't particularly want to because it's 3 tributes. That's a lot of monsters, and it requires a lot of setting up. But if you pull this out, it can normally be game. It's basically like pulling out a god card. But yeah, it's a potential side deck card, and it forces people, if you play it once at your locals, it'll probably force them to continuously play a main deck out, which means it'll probably be easier for you to bluff having one in your side deck or main deck. So it's definitely worth a... I'm definitely going to play one at some point just to try and throw off people at my locals. Then Vanity's Fiend. Vanity's Fiend's a great side deck card at the moment. Just Burning Abyss get wrecked by this card, and so does Shadol's. It's just a great card, especially when you combine it with like the Stormforth, which you should have in your side deck, in my opinion. If you're playing this deck, you've got to have Stormforth in the side deck. So this is potential, and obviously Majesty's Fiend is the same thing. I'm playing Majesty's Fiend at the moment, myself, just to give it a test. But that's basically the monsters I thought you could probably put in. There's not a lot there. There's one more monster later on, but we'll talk about that after the spells. Dark Hole, just mass removal for you to push for game. Book of Moon, it's a strong card against BA. Simply as you put the monster down, they can't special summon anything off it, and then it gives you time to then make your setup and push. Night Beam, this is a card I've been toying with. I've recently got 2 ultis now, so I'm tempted to try it in the main deck simply because it's shiny, and not to mention they can't chain things like shadow games and yada yada yada. Then you've got Laser Clip. It allows you a second normal summon. It's a field spell, so it doesn't really take up any room. The problem is it is another face-up continuous spell, so it will get hit by Fairy Wind. But if you're main decking it in the game 1, it could be good. Just could help you push for game. Another card that I've been thinking about is Enemy Controller. I really like the look of Enemy Controller, just to especially in the mirror match, because you can just steal one of their Qliphorts if you pendulumed out. Tribute their Qliphort monster, and it acts as a bit of removal. Not to mention it's a dual purpose card. It can serve as a defense as well, so it's not bad. So that's some of the spells, and the last ones I want to talk about are the emergency teleports, recover, and Materia Beast. A couple of guys at the first ARG when Qliphorts were legal were piloting this in their side deck. I thought it was really interesting because basically, if you open this against the mirror match, you'll brace. If you open a monster and an emergency teleport against the mirror match, that's basically game, because everything is a spell, and then Beast just starts putting in work upon work upon work. It can be dead simply because I guess you could draw it, but then you've got the ability to just make the synchro play anyway. But it's definitely like a nice little idea anyway, so I'm definitely gonna give it a go. Just to see how it plays out, but unfortunately there's no mirror matches at my locals at the moment because I'm the only person with it, but I'm definitely going to give it a try just because I love Beast, I love Itai, and Recover actually looks pretty cool. I got it in Super because I realised it's a promo card, so I was like, definitely got to try this. But yeah, I've just found these are just some of the ones that I'm not personally side decking at the moment, but I'm thinking about side decking. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring that to you, YouTube, just to let you all have a look. And yeah, just tell me what you think about each card if you've got a spare minute, just to give me some info as well, because I haven't play tested these yet, so I'd be completely happy with any sort of input. But yeah, if you guys find any other side deck cards, please leave a comment in the description, in the comment section below, and yeah, feel free to message me whenever you want, YouTube. thank you very much, and this is Kichzor.
Chocolate.